online, these competitive programming websites. Today, Suraj sir will be discussing about them. He'll be picking a question from these websites so that by solving the questions itself, he'll help you build in concepts which will be very useful for trying some questions on your own as well. So please take advantage of this session, and let me introduce Suraj sir. Is a 4-star coder, and he's on the lines of becoming a 5-star coder on CodeChef. And he has been with the classroom study for long, and that means he has great skills, answering skills. So please ask as much questions you guys can, and take advantage of this session. And trust me, he's one of the finest mentors that we have. So over to you, Suraj sir.
Thank you, Vyom sir, for the introduction. I have a question for you guys. How many of you have ever submitted at least one question on CodeChef or Codeforces? So what we have decided for today's session is we will be covering at least, I'll try to cover 3 questions from a contest. From this contest, it was rated for division 3, and it have really good question for absolute beginners. So there are few things which are very good. I'll try to cover first 2 problems, and if time will allow, then we will cover third question also, right? So that means most of you are familiar with submitting your solutions on CodeChef and Codeforces, right? So okay. So the first question we are taking today is this one. Sorry, not this one. This question, body mass index, right? So I'll just quickly read this question for you guys, and you guys will be thinking for some minutes, and then you will try to come up with an approach, and you will write your approach in chat box, and then we will go further and discuss this question and discuss the solution for this. Okay, and after that we will try to implement and try to submit this question, right? So the question says you are given with height h meters. You are given the height h meters and mass m in kilograms of chef. So there is someone named chef, and his height is h meters and m kilograms weight, right? The body mass index BMI of a person is computed as m divided by h square, right? So report the category into which chef falls based on his BMI. So we will be provided with height and mass of chef, and we have to print or output whether in which category that BMI comes under, right? If BMI after calculating using this formula, we calculated BMI, and if BMI is smaller than equals to 18, then we have to output category 1, only 1, and if that BMI falls in any number from 19 to 24, then we have to output 2. If BMI falls from 25 to 29, then we have to output 3, and otherwise we have to output 4, right? So can you guys write how many of you are able to understand this question, that what will be given and what we have to do? Then we will quickly just see what this means, number of test cases and all those things. Simply by if else condition we can do right. Voice not clear. Sachin, tell me for how many of you my voice is not clear. If for most of us my voice is clear, then Sachin, you might be having some trouble in your network, right? Clear. So I think Sachin, you can just quickly refresh your tab, and you can join again this meeting, and I hope my voice will be clear after that, right? So I hope most of all of you have understood the question. So we will be given T number of test cases, and each test case we will be given 2 values, m and h, right? M is that mass or weight, and h is height. So what we in this sample test case, we are given with 3 test cases. So for every test case, for first test case, mass is 72 and height is 2, right? And this test case is also explained here. 72 by 2 square is 4, which comes out to be 18, and 18 for 18 or smaller than 18 we have to output 1. So for first test case the output is 1, right? For second test case, mass is 80 and height is 2. So 80 by 2 square is equals to 20. So 20 comes in this category, right? Falls in this range. So we have to output 2. So the output for second test case is 2, and similarly for third one, the answer is 4. So as most of you have suggested, we can just we can just calculate this thing, calculate m by h square, and according to the value we can write if else conditions. If my BMI is smaller than equals to 18, then we can output 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, right? So I think most of you are getting this approach only. So if you are clear with this approach, we will just jump quickly to the implementation part. So anyone want me to explain why that if else condition and how that if else condition is going to work? Then tell me, I'll explain, and then we will go to implementation part. If you all of you are clear that if else, how we are going to use if else condition, then I can just quickly go to the implementation part, right? Okay, so we'll just jump to the implementation part. So I'll just erase these things. So see, firstly we will be given with t number of test cases. So
one quick question, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Suraj sir.
Yes,
Suraj sir, can you ask if everybody is able to see your screen?
Those who are not able to see my screen, just type in that my screen is not visible or something like that. If for anyone my screen is not visible, they can write that my screen is not visible. It's visible. So I think it's visible for most of the people.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay. Good. Yeah. Please continue. Thank you.
So in question, what firstly we will be given with t. T is number of test cases, right? So I declared a variable t, and I just took an input in my variable t, and t number of times I will be given mass and height, right? So I'll run a while loop t number of times. If anyone who don't understand what this while loop is going to do, I'll just write what this while loop is going to do. Initially, let's suppose t is equals to 5, right? So whenever this statement will be executed, my t value will reduce, right? So first time when this line will be executed, my t will reduce to 4, right? After that, it will keep on decrementing 3, then 2, then 1, then it will when the value of t will be 0. So in C++, 0 is treated as false. So whenever my t will be equals to 0, my this while loop will encounter a false statement, and this while loop will not execute. So it will only execute till my t is greater than 0. And every time I'm reducing t by 1, so it will only execute 5 number of times or t number of times, right? So if anyone who is having doubt in this statement, they can write in chat, and others we can just move ahead, right? So mass will be given and height will be given. So I'll just quickly take input m and h, right? And we'll create a temp variable in which we will store the calculation which we have to do, which is m divided by h into h, right? And if temp is smaller than equals to 18, then I have to output 1, right? And else if, what is the second condition? That is, I think, 24. Let me see. It is 24 only, right? So cout 2, and else if what was the third condition? Third condition was till 29. So if temp is smaller than equals to 29, then I have to output 3, right? Else I just have to output 4, I think. Yeah, I have to output 4. And let's just take these sample inputs and try to copy and see what our code is going to output. If I'll just run this code, then it is giving me 1, 2 and 4, and let's just check what should be my answer. My answer should be 1, 2 and 4. So I'm getting correct answer. So how many of you are clear that how many of you are able to understand this code, that, how I have written this code, and anyone having any confusion in this code, you can write. And if all of you are clear, we can just copy this thing and try to paste and see whether the solution will work or not. I think I'm having some. Okay, so I'll just paste this and I'll just submit. See, so we got correct answer, right? So our solution is accepted. Anyone having any doubt in this code or something, you can write a quick yes or no if you are able to understand, and if you are not able to understand, you can write no. Okay, so someone has written, sir, can we also use float variable so that decimals can also be considered? We can use float, but I'm not able to understand your statement, that what you want to say by decimals can also be considered. Shum, can you elaborate what your question exactly is? Shubham, can you just explain what your question, what you want to ask? That
Sir, I
please go ahead.
sir, sir,
Yes, Shubham. You can write in chat if you are having any trouble with microphone or. We can use float, but I'm not able to understand what you want to say by decimal can also be considered. 3 is different than 3.3. No problem, Shubham. In integer, what happens is that if you are dividing something, it will take the round value. Let's suppose for 3.03, integer will automatically convert that to 3. It will take it as 3, right? So you don't have to worry about that thing. And we are given with integer ranges, so there is no problem taking integer, and you can also go for float also. There is no problem. Let's just try this thing. If let's suppose instead of integer I'll take float, then also, and here also in temp float I'm taking, and instead of here 0.0, right? And I think this should also give me correct answer, right? See, Shubham, we are for float also we are getting right answer, right? So you can use float either for float or integer, whatever you want to use. Okay, so anyone else who is having any doubt, or we can move ahead? Okay, we can move to the second question. So second question we are having today is, there are k problems in a contest and n participants. So there will be a contest in which n participants are there, and there are k problems, right? All the problems don't necessarily have the same points assigned to them. Okay, you are given an array of integers where ai denotes the point assigned to the ith problem. Okay, so we will be given with an array for each question. Each index will represent how many points are assigned to which problem, right? If a participant solves the ith problem, they will be assigned ai points added to their total score. Note that there are no partial points there. They can get only 0 or ai points on the ith problem. For each participant I, you are also given their final verdict in each problem in the form of binary string si. A 1 denotes that they have solved the problem, and a 0 denotes that they did not. Your job is to find the total score of each participant, right? So how many of you are able to understand this thing, or do you want me to explain this problem, what this problem is trying to say? How many of you are clear with this question? A quick yes or no in chat. Explain again, right? See, okay, I'll take what this question is saying is there is a contest in which there are n participants, n people have participated in this contest, and in this contest there are k problems, right? And for each problem we will be given with an array. Let's suppose we are given with an array of there are two participants. There are two participants in this contest, and there are two problems. And for each problem we are given that what is the points that are associated with that problem. So for first problem, if someone will solve first problem, that person will be given 1 point, and if a person who is able to solve the second problem, he will be given 2 points, right? And after that we will be given with the string, binary string 0 or 1. What that let's suppose 0 1 and 1 0 we are given. So these strings are representing how many questions first person was able to solve and which questions second person was able to solve. First person was not able to solve the first question, he was able to solve the second question. But second person, he was able to solve the first question, he was not able to solve the second question, right? So the total score of this person will be, he was able to solve the second question, so he will get 2 points, right? And the first person, he was able to solve only first question, so he will get 1 point, right? So this is what we have to calculate. We have to calculate how many points each participant will get, right? So now is this clear? Question is clear? Clear, no? Right. So again we will be given t number of test cases. In each test case, first we will be given with n number of participants, and then k number of problems, and after that for we will be given k different integers, which will be denoting ai denotes the points assigned to the ith problem. Just like it, we will be given with an k number of elements, where each element is pointing or representing the amount of points for each problem, right? For first problem for 1 point, for second problem 2 points, right? And after that we will be given n strings, binary strings, where one if they solve the problem, and Sij will be 0 if they are not able to solve the problem. So firstly for each test case we will be given value of n, value of k, then k number of elements denoting the amount value which are assigned to each question. Then we will be given with n number of strings, in which 0 will represent that the person was not able to solve that question, and 1 will represent that the person was able to solve that question, right? So first let us take input. How we will take input in this case? We will just simply take t, c in t, and while t minus minus. Now I have to take n and k first. For each test case I have to first take n and k, right? And then what will be given to me? Then k number of integers will be given, which will represent the value assigned to the each question. So I'll create a vector. So first tell me how many of you are familiar with vector, or should I use vector or should I use array? Familiar with vector, right? Anyone who want me to use array instead of vector, they can write, right? So I think most of you are familiar with vectors, so I'll use vector. I've used vector, and I'll just what name should I give? Okay, I'll give points, POI. I'll give a name points, and it will store k number of values. I'll just run a loop till k, and I'll take input points I, right? And after this what will be given to me? After this I will be given with binary strings, right? And for each binary string I have to output the total number of score that person has scored, right? So I'll just create a variable score. I'll initialize it to 0, and after that what I will do, I'll run a for loop n number of times, and I'll take string s, and I'll input a binary string. And what I will do, this can anyone tell me what should be the length of the string? If I'll get a binary string, what should be the length of the string? This length of this string should be equals to the number of questions, right? Because this string, every element is representing whether that person was able to solve a question or not. So this length of the string should be equals to the number of questions, right? Anyone having any doubt in understanding this thing? Amazing. Yes. Recordings will be provided. This session is being recorded, and we will upload the recording on YouTube, right? So now I know the length of this string will be equals to k. Anyone having any doubt understanding why we concluded that the length of this string will be k? Anyone? Right? So now what I will do, I'll just initialize score to 0, and I'll run a for loop int j is equals to j 0 and j smaller than k and j plus plus. And inside this, if I have to calculate the total score of that person, if that in that string jth character is equals to 1, then only it that means that person was able to solve that jth question, right? If my j is going from 0 to k and s is representing is a binary string, and if that jth character was 1, that means that person was able to solve that jth question, then only I have to include the value in my score. I'll include the value which is associated with this jth character. So where is my score? These are points. In my points, jth question, if this person was able to solve the jth question, then points j amount of value will be incremented in my score. How many of you are able to understand this thing? See, I'm doing I'm starting my iteration from this starting of the string, and I'm going till the end, and whenever I encounter 1, right, I will add that value associated with that index or that question. I'll increment that value in my score, right? Initially my score was 0. If that person was able to solve the second question, then 2 must be included in that score, right? 2 is incremented, right? So I'll just increment this points for this particular person, and after calculating score for all the questions, I will just output this score. And now just let me check what for these test cases, what should be the output. See, I got 21300. Let me check what should be the answer. The answer should be 21300. That means my answer and actual answer is exactly matching. So let us just try to submit this thing and see whether this solution is correct or not. Anyone who is having doubt understanding this question or solution, they can write. Okay, we got wrong answer somewhere. Let me just see what is the constraints and where we might have gone wrong. So it is equals to 0 or 1, and every time sum of n into k over all test cases almost 10 power to 6, right? So for n number of times I will be given with the string, and I am taking input of that thing. Should be k only. So as j is equals to 1, then score will be incremented, and score is every time initializing from 0. So let me, so anyone having any idea where we might be having an error, at which place? I believe our answer is correct. Let me just take long instead of int, here also and here also, and let me just try to see whether this answer gives me a correct answer or not. See, you got right answer. Anyone who can say why we were getting a wrong answer when we were using int? Can anyone tell me why we were getting wrong answer when we were using int instead of long? Range of right. We were getting integer overflow. There might be some values which were greater than integer range, and we were storing those values in integer only. So that's why we were getting wrong answer, right? And how we can conclude that, or how we can find out whether my answer will get integer overflow or not? How we can do that? See, we can do that using constraints. We can find out that thing using constraints. See, for every value associated with quotients, my value will be at max 10 power is to 5, right? So let's say every value is 10 power is to 5 for worst case, right? And what is the maximum value which I can get for n? For n, maximum value, let's suppose k is 1, so n will be equals to 10 power is to 6, right? So n is equals to 10 power is to 6. And let's suppose there was a one person who solved all the questions. That means I have to add 10 power is to 5, 10 power is to 6 number of times, right? There are 10 power is to 6 questions, and a person was able to solve all the questions, and every question was having a value of 10 power is to 5, right? So now range and 10 power is to 6 number of questions, each one is having 10 power is to 5 value, and he was able to solve all the questions. Then what I have to do, I have to sum 10 power is to 5, 10 power is to 6 number of times, right? So the what value I will get? I will get 10 power is to 5 into 10 power is to 6, right? And what is the value of this thing? It will go up to 10 power is to 11, right? Which is greater than integer, and integer can store. Are you guys able to understand this thing? How we come up with this relation? How can we convert constraints to a code? How can we convert constraints to a code? Abhinandan, what you are trying to say, can you elaborate? I'm not able to understand this line. How we can convert constraints to a code? According to the constraints, we can decide our parameters in code. So, Abhinandan, are you there? Can you write what is your actual query? And till then, how many of you guys are able to understand that how we came to this relation? How we computed that at max my score will be given a value 10 power is to 11, which integer can't store, but long can store. What are parameters, sir? See, parameters are these are constraints which are given in question. Like, we will be given t number of test cases, and the value of t can never be greater than 5. It is mentioned here. From here we can see, and we can understand that t will never go more than t can never have a value greater than, say, 5, right? And ai is 10 power is to 5. See, for every question there is some points associated with it, right? And that value can never be greater than 10 power is to 5, right? And Sij binary, if that is a binary string, it can have either 0 or it can have 1, right? And n into k over all test cases is almost 10 power is to 6. So for over all test cases, n into k can never go beyond 10 power is to 6. These are the constraints that is given to us. If these things will not be given to us, then we won't be able to find out that what type of test cases will be there. So every test case which is present to test the solution of my code for this question, that will follow these constraints. That means the value of n and into k will never be greater than 10 power to 6, and value of Sij will be always be either 0 or 1. Value of Ai will for all test cases will be from 1 to 10 power to 5. These are the constraints which are given, right? These are the parameters on which my code will be tested, right? Anmol have written the range of right. This is the thing, right? So this is see, integer can store up to 10 power to 9 almost, right? So the maximum value which we are getting for score is 10 power to 11. So simply it can't be stored in integer. We have to use either long or we have to use long, right? That's why we were getting wrong answer when we were using integer. Now when we are using long, we are getting right answer. You can use a long integer also, that will also give you correct answer, right? Now I think you guys are clear with and here you might have learned a new thing, that how much constraints are important. And there is one very important thing in competitive programming is, whenever you are trying to solve a question, first see the constraints. What are the constraints? What constraints are given, right? According to the constraints only you can whatever logic you are thinking, just calculate the time complexity of that logic and then see whether that time complexity will work in these constraints or not. And at last, the time limit is also given. For this question, 0.5 seconds will be given to your solution. If your solution will not be able to give answer within 0.5 seconds, then you will get a time limit exceed, right? So these constraints are important. So if all of you are clear with this thing, we can just move ahead. A quick yes or no you can write. If you are clear with first two questions, we can move ahead with the third question. Okay, great. So the third question which we are having today is this one, and this question will include a very interesting thing which is related to sorting. I am not going to disclose right now. I will let you think for some time. I'll just read this question for you guys, and after that just think for a few minutes and then we will discuss this question, right? So the question which is given to us is, Dr. Chef is treating COVID-19 patients. There is a queue of n patients, right? So Dr. Chef is treating COVID patients and there is a line in which n patients are there, numbered from patient 1 at front of the queue to patient n at the back. Outside his clinic. You his assistant, found that for each valid ith patient has illness level AI. So those n patients will have a particular illness level. Some might have more illness, some might have less illness, some might have equal illness, right? This is what we can conclude from this first sentence. Let's just read the next sentence. Chef treats patients based on their health. Okay, a patient with a higher illness level is always treated before any patient with a lower illness level. Okay, great. Chef is also fair, so he treats patients with an equal illness level based on their position in the queue. Okay, a patient ahead in the queue is always treated before a patient with the same illness level in the future further behind in the queue, right? So what this statement is saying till now is, there is a queue in front of hospital where Dr. Chef is a doctor. He is treating these patients, and there are n patients, and every patient will have some illness. Let's suppose this thing, then 5, 3, something like that. Some might have same, some might have different, right? And this Dr. Chef will treat the people who are having higher illness. let's suppose 5 is the maximum illness which any person is having in this queue. So he will treat this person first, after that he will treat everyone else, right? And let's suppose there are two people who are having same illness level. So what he will do, he will treat this person first because he is having equal number of equal illness, but he is present in the front of other one. After treating this person, he will Dr. Chef will treat this one because he is present at the back in the queue, right? The first patient to be treated has to wait an hour for Chef to set up his equipments. Okay, so this person which will be treated first, so he have to wait 1 hour until this Dr. Chef is setting up his equipments. Treating each patient also takes an hour. Okay, whenever he is treating a patient, it will take 1 hour. Chef always starts treating the next person as soon as he is done with the current one. Okay, the patients are a bit impatient as Chef assistant for each patient find out how long in hours this patient needs to wait before Chef starts treating his patient, right? So we have to find out how long it will take for each of the patients to wait before treatment. For this patient have to wait 1 hour until this Dr. Chef is setting up his equipments. After that he will take 1 hour. His treatment will take 1 hour. So this person has to wait for 2 hours, right? 1 plus 1, 2 hours. And after this person, turn of this person will come and he have to wait for 3 hours because 1 hour will take in treatment of this person. And after that, this person's treatment will be begin, and 3 plus 1, 4 hours he have to wait. And while treating this person, 1 hour will be gone. So this person have to wait 5 hours, right? How many of you are able to understand this question? How many of you got this question? What question is trying to say? Those who are not able to understand anything can write. I will happily repeat the things, right? Okay, great. So let's just take the first sample test case. It is 5 2 3 5 3 4, right? So 5 patients are waiting. Let's just erase everything. 5 patients are waiting, and just what are the illness level? First patient is having illness level of 2, second patient is having illness level 3, third patient is having illness level 5, and similarly 3 and 4 for other ones, right? Now tell me which person will be treated first. I'm just writing the indices. Let me write 1 2 3 4 and you can write the sequence in which these people will be treated. I'm just writing the sequence, the indices 3 4 and 5. You can just write which person will be treated first. Which person out of these will be treated first? First person, second person, third person, fourth person, fifth person. Anyone who can tell me which person will be treated first? See, the illness level, we have 5 people waiting in front of Chef's hospital, and first person is having illness level 2, second person illness level 3, third person illness level 5, fourth person illness level 3, and fifth person illness level 4. So which person will be treated first? I'm just asking this thing. Third, right? Third person will be treated first. Why? Because this person is having maximum illness, so he has to be treated first, right? So we will just write 5 will be treated first. 5 will be treated first, and index of this person is 3, right? After this, who will be treated? Just after third person, who will be treated? Guys, if you are having any doubt something, then you can ask. Otherwise, okay, great. Fifth person will be treated second. This index of this person is 3. After this, can you write the sequence? Can you write the remaining sequence? I'm just opening this thing. You can just, if you it will be very better for you if you can just write the sequence, remaining sequence. After fifth, I believe this person should come. Why? Because now fifth illness of 5 person is treated. This person is also treated. Now remaining persons, this person is remaining, this person is remaining, this person is remaining, and out of these 3, these 2 are having same amount of illness. So the person who is in front will be treated first. So second person will be treated first, right? Then after that, this fourth person will be treated, and after that first person will be treated, right? 5 4 3 5 2 4 1 3 5 2, right, great. Now can you see that this is a sorted order? Can you observe this thing, that it is a sorted order? Can you guys agree with me that it is a sorted order, right? It is a sorted order. But what if, like, how I will decide whether this 3 is second person or this 3 is fourth person? Because if I'll take fourth person here and second person here, then also 5 4 3 3 2 is sorted, right? But how I have to maintain this thing, that the person who is present in front or having lesser index should come first, right? So there is one term in sorting which is stable sort and unstable sort. In unstable sort, what happens is we don't care whether who came first or who didn't came first. This is also a sorted stable sort, and this is a unstable sort. And let me just write what is the difference between these two. In stable sort, when 2 values are same, so the one which is present ahead is taken first, and after that the second is taken. But in unstable sort, we don't care which is coming first and which is coming after. If 2 values are same, we just print one after another, right? So are you guys able to understand what is the difference between stable sort and unstable sort, right? See, Mohammad have written the answer that it's a stable sort, right? So anyone having any doubt in this stable and unstable sort? Stable sort is when we are sorting the elements, and when we encounter 2 equal values, we in stable sort take care of the thing that the element which is having lesser index or which is occurring first should come first. And in unstable sort, we don't care whether if 2 values are equal, we just print one after the another. We don't care which one coming first or which is one is not coming first, right? How many of you guys are clear with this thing, stable and unstable sort? Then we can move ahead. A quick yes or no if you are able to understand this thing. Am I audible, guys? Okay, great. Right. So anyone having any idea that how we can maintain this stable sort? Because by this question, I'm sure that we will need this thing. We will need a stable sort. So anyone having any idea how we can stably sort this thing? There is one STL function, STL, which is we generally use for sorting. We use sort function, na? There is one more function is STL, which is stable sort, which is stable underscore sort. You can use that, right? Or I will tell you one more thing about for using sort function, right? In that we will maintain this stable function for stable order. Hello. Sorry guys, I think I'm having some network issue today. And if I'm audible, just quickly write a yes or no, and my screen is visible or not. Then we will continue from where we left. Audible na? My screen is visible na? Right. So let's suppose we stably short this function, short this these values, and after this what we have to do, we have to print for first patient how much time it will take. So in this array, the index of a2 is now 5. Index of 2 is 5, so it have to wait 6 hours. No, sorry, index of this thing is 4. Index if you will take index from 0, then index of 2 is 4, so it have to wait 4 hours for their treatment, and 1 hour for doctor to for equipments, arranging equipments. Doctor needs 1 hour, and doctor needs 4 hours for treatment of these people. So 2 have to wait for 5 number of times, for 5 hours. This person have to wait for 5 hours, and this person has to wait for 2 hours for their treatment and 1 hour for equipment, right? So in total this person has to wait for 3 hours, right? And this then there is 5, and 5 has to wait for 1 hour. This person has to wait for 1 hour, and then this 3 comes, and this 3 is present here with index 4, so it has to wait for these 3 people's treatment, which will take 3 hours, and 1 hour in equipment setup. So it will in total it will take 4 hours for this person, and this person 1 hour it will take for treatment of this person, and 1 hour in equipment setup. So it will in total it will take 2 hours, right? So now if I'll somehow get this string, this array, this sorted order, right? And indexes also sorted order and their indexes, then can I somehow tell that what is how much time it will take for every individual? What I can do is I can just go on third index. I can go to this third person, and I can write it will take 1 hour only. Why? Because it is present at 0th index, and it just have to wait for 1 hour for equipment setup, right? So I can just write 1 here, and I can after that I can go to the fifth index. Fifth index is here, and this person is at index 1, so it has to wait 1 hour for this person and 1 hour for equipment setup. So it have to wait for a total of 2 hours. And then I can move forward to this element, and I can see that at index 2 this person has to wait for 2 plus 1, 3 hours you have to wait, and this person have to wait 3 plus 1, 4 hours, and then this person has to wait 4 plus 1, 5 hours, right? I can find out now for how long they have to wait for before their treatment starts, right? So anyone having any idea how we can implement this thing? Okay, I'll just try to implement this thing. So firstly we will be given with t, so we will take t as it is, and we will not change this thing. We have taken t. Now I have to take input as n as input, number of elements, and after that I have to take illness of every person. There are n elements in n patients in my array, so I have just made a vector v, and after that what I have to do, I have to take input. I have to run a for loop till n, and I have to, for every element I have to take input, right? Now what do I have to do? I have to short this thing. And for vector v dot begin, v dot end, and there is one more parameter which I will pass, and before that I'll tell you what this function is going to do. See, this function will simply short my function, simply short this vector, right? But I want to short this according to my needs. I need to short this vector in terms of two things. First is the value, and if values are same, then according to their indices, right? So what I can do is, instead of vector, I have taken a vector. What I can do is I can simply take one more thing, which is vector. See, if my screen is not visible or something like that, you can write, I think your screen is freezed. Okay. Guys, I think I am having some network issue. My voice is audible, na? Right. See, if my screen is still, I've presented my screen again. You can just tell me whether my screen is visible now or not. My screen is visible? A quick yes or no if my screen is visible. Okay, I'll start again. I have till n I have taken input. I'll just create a vector, name as n, answer, and there will be n elements in that, and I'll make vector of pairs. How many of you are comfortable with pairs? Anyone who is not comfortable with pairs, you can write. No. My screen is not visible, or you are not comfortable with the pairs. Screen is not visible. Okay. Let me just try to present again. Now my screen is visible. Can you tell pair little bit? My screen is visible or not? Tell me that first, then only I can explain. Then I will be able to explain. Visible but lagging. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just open a code. Okay, just let me not try to solve this. I'll just take my previous solution and I'll try to explain how that question is working. I think my net is having some issues today. My submission. I'll just if now my visible, but see, now tell me whether my Sublime Code Editor is visible to you guys or not. You can just tell me, because I will not switch tabs now if my screen is lagging. You can, any one of you can unmute and tell that whether my Sublime Text Editor is visible to you guys or not.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, great. So what I've done in this question is, I'm not trying to write this question or something. See, I'll just take input and then we will go to just check these things. See what I have done in this question. I have just taken input of n, then I have created one vector of integer data type, and I have given size, initialized size as n, and then I have created a vector of pairs. And now let me just tell you what pairs do. Pairs store value in that each thing in key value pair, key and value, or you can say that it will be a pair of two integers. I can store a pair of two integers at one place, right? See, for this question I need to store every element with its index. let's say in this example we are given with 2 3. In first example we are given with these elements, right? So I need their indices also, 0 1 2 3 4, right? And I have to sort these elements if the values are same, like here 3 and 3 are same. So at that time I have to place 3 which is at first index at first, before the third which is present at third element. I have to place this 3 which is present at first index before this 3 which is present at third index, right? So I have to sort this these elements. If I encountered any two elements which are having same value, then I have to sort them according to their indices, right? So for that I need a pair of value and index, right? So what pair does is I can store two elements in a pair of any data type. Here I have taken integer and integer data type, right? And how it will work is I have initialized a variable temp, and I am every time I am taking see, let me just, instead of this let me just write a for loop. What I will do, I will input temp. It will, what it will give, initially it will give me 2. It will give 2, and what I will do, I will store this at 0th index with value 2 and index 0. So every time what I am doing is I am making a pair of value and its index, and I am storing it there in my this variable or vector v, right? How many of you are able to understand this thing?